a citation waived or postponed. I've seen all kinds of stuff done, interaction stuff between the board and the person that came up. And I'm not objecting to what happened or anything else. It seems like there's not a uniformity in the board. If I ask the board a question, then Marie will say, it's your time, this is your time to talk, and we don't make any comments on it. And just what happened on the kennel stuff, I thought was out of the ordinary. Thank you.
I'll take full responsibility for that. It was because of the September 13th date that I felt compelled to bring that.
I'm not against that. It's just that it was just something different. Thank you.
Okay. To move on with the agenda, if there's no other comments, Mr. Ross, you better make it quick.
I will promise to make it quick. I think I have 11 seconds left on my other time.
11 seconds.
My own quick comment, one sentence. I would prefer that anyone running for political office not grandstand here during the Board of Supervisors meeting. There is plenty of time outside of these meetings to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russ. Does anybody have anything they would like to say to the board, not on the agenda, that is under our jurisdiction? Okay, I'm going to move on to item 11. Brian, thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Board of Supervisors. My name is Bryant Wilson, and I'm a counselor at Calaveras County Behavioral Health Services Program. We are coming to the board to let the public know that September is Recovery Happens Month and asking the board to pass a resolution proclaiming Recovery Happens in Calaveras County. Recovery Happens is a statewide public awareness campaign intended to celebrate the lives of people who are recovering from alcohol and/or drug addiction. The State Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs and the California Association of Addiction Recovery Resources have asked local communities to join in celebration by proclaiming September 2010 as Join the Voices of Recovery Now More Than Ever. Recovery Happens is a celebration to thank this board and those in government for their support. And remember that when treatment works, recovery happens. At this time, I'd like to introduce Richard and Robert to share a little bit of their experience with behavioral health services.
Good morning. My name is Richard Kirby. Drug abuse, addiction, perpetuates more drug abuse, crime, breaking down of social morals, family breakdown. I've never thought of it before until now. Now that I'm involved in the behavioral program over here, but what I've seen is people reunited with their children, people curing themselves, helping to be cured, trying hard to shed from themselves their drug abuse. I have total appreciation and respect for Brian and the program. I've never been involved with it till now. I'm almost 60 years old, and when I first was involved, I was afraid that it was something that I had an idea of it that was something different than what it really is. And what it is to help these families come back together, help these individuals to learn their social responsibilities, and I hope this program that you're all aware of this program and what it does to people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kirby. We appreciate your coming out.
Hi, my name is Robert Carl. I'm from West Point, California. I'd just like to say on behalf of the Behavioral Health Program that, last year, I am a single father of a 10-year-old son, and last year at this time I was destined to go to prison. I had a $250 a day methamphetamine habit. I had nowhere to live, and I wasn't employable. With this program, with me getting enrolled in this program, I haven't touched it in 6 months. I still have custody of my son. I have a place to live. And I just feel like it's given me my life back and my son's life back. It was impossible without the program, without the behavioral health program. I thank God and Brian and everybody else who helps that program work, because without that, I would either be dead in prison, and I don't know where my little one would be. And life is great today, and it's because of this program. So thank you.
Mr. Carl, thank you very much for coming.
for sharing. September 1st, there'll be a rally on the west steps of the state capitol. Calaveras County Substance Abuse Program staff and county residents who are in recovery will be participating in that event. On October 18th, we'll be having our biannual graduation ceremony at the center to celebrate those that have successfully completed treatment, and I hope the board can join us on that day. I would like the public to be aware that there is help for people with alcohol and drug abuse issues here in Calaveras County. If you or a loved one needs help, please call 754-6555 and ask to speak to a staff person. Thank you. Please
Mr.
vote
Wilson,
yes.
thank you very much, and thank you for bringing this to the board. We appreciate it.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution proclaiming September 2010 as Recovery Happens Month in Calaveras County.
I have a second.
I'll second that.
Is there someone who would like to speak on this? Yes.
I see that.
That's okay. Before we vote.
I think Mr. Anderson wants to...
Hi, my name's Andy Ballantyne. I'm from District 5. And this, the Drug and Alcohol Recovery Program is a very important program. It saves people. It saves money. It takes people that are at the bottom of the ladder and restores their lives back to them. And this program in Calaveras County has really been a superb program. It's been handled very well, and there's been a lot accomplished. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank Calaveras County, the judicial system who's participated in it, and the Board of Supervisors for this program and for all the good works. And I'm just really pleased that so many people have been able to recover through this program. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Valentine.
The motion is strengthened by Mr. Valentine's remarks.
Does
Thank you.
anybody else have anything they'd like to say on this item before we vote? The kudos are duly noted, Mr. Wilson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes on a 5-0. Thank you. I'd like to move to item 12, and I am going to take item 17 with it. They are related. Ms. Ancanella, did you want to take the lead on this, please?
We're here to award the, you want me to sign?
No, your name.
Oh.
Please, for the record.
Everybody knew me. I'm Kathy Sancanella, Airport Manager of our wonderful airport at Calaveras County that is about to get some production going in this county. We're here to award the bid for the 22 hangar unit that will be built at the airport this fall. And this was all done through a consultant to have it done professionally and right. And I'm going to let Zachary tell you the results.
Zachary Fulham, County Administrative Office. We had 12 companies bid for this project. The lowest bidder was Vince Aguirre Construction Incorporated. The consultant, Mead and Hunt, has reviewed all of the bids, all 12 of them, and has recommended that Vince Aguirre Construction be awarded this contract. After a review in the County Administrative Office, we agreed, and we have brought a resolution that awards, that is a notice of award to Vince Aguirre Construction.
Does any member of the board have any questions or comments on this item? Does any member of the public have any questions or comments on this? I'll entertain a motion, please. Dies for a lack of...
No, I'll make that motion. I'll second. I'm sorry. I was deferring to the district in which it's...
I'm sorry, I was thinking something.
Wake up, Mary.
I would like to make the motion if that's...
Yes, I certainly
the second?
defer, and I will make the second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes on a 5-0. Item 17, please.
Thank you.
I was involved.
Oh, that's right, we got
That's
another
it.
one here. Wait a minute, that's those two.
This is a minute order accepting a grant from the Federal Aviation Administration in the amount of $396,692 for the T hangar project at the airport.
Are there
We
any
just have to, it is normally put into, this is put in when we you already okayed us to go for that grant, but we neglected to put in it was okay to accept it. So, here we are.
Well, that's a slight. Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Are there any questions or comments from the public on this item? A motion, please.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move this item.
I'll second that item.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes on a 5-0. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thanks, Steve.
I'd like to move to item 13. Submission of an application for a fraud investigation program for the integrity of IHSS.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Mary Sawicki. I'm the Director of Calaveras Works and Human Services. We're here to ask your permission to reapply for funding for the fraud investigation and program integrity program and ask the board to execute the response page. We're asking permission to apply for $29,489,000. We received this particular funding last year. It's a renewal of the application. The money will be used for the prevention of fraud in the in-home supportive services program, a number of activities. I gave you kind of like a overview by that particular chart of some of the activities that occur, as well as for the work that is done in trying to recover funds that were given inappropriately for the in-home supportive services program. And I do want to make one minor correction on your report on the for the fraud program. We actually, on fiscal year 9-10, if you'll add another $2,145 in collections to that amount, that really is the amount of money that we recovered last year.
That we've what, Ms. Wiggins?
Recovered
Okay, thank you.
last year. Yeah. Any questions?
I do have a question,
Sure.
Mary. Under financing, it says the funding for the proposal will be approximately $29,489.
Yes.
With sharing ratio of 50% federal, 35% state, and 15% county.
Right.
So you're asking to submit for a grant for $29,000 total, or minus 15% that that's county share of that number?
The application, when we submit funding, is for the whole amount, and then if we receive the allocation, which we're hoping to do, they specify on the chart how much the county needs to come up with match, and that match would come from realignment funds.
Okay.
Are there any more questions or comments from the board?
I have a question. There's been a lot of talk on the state level about IHSS fraud. This is a program serving people with disabilities and seniors. It's means tested, that is, it's the poorest of the poor, and it's the amount of money necessary to provide the hours of service to keep people out of institutions, which would cost infinitely more. Some say about 10 times more to institutionalize than to provide people for care in their own home. Here in this county, we've had fraud investigations and reviews, but can you give us a sense of just how big a problem this is or how small it is? I actually think it's been a political football that has had very little actual on-the-ground reality here in Calaveras County, but I'd be curious about your thoughts.
Actually, when we take a look at the issue of fraud, it is minuscule in our county, just to let you know. If you take a look at the amount of money that we actually recover, those are small amounts in relationship to the money that is actually authorized and received for care. The kinds of fraud cases that are more typical for us are cases where a client will be in the hospital or in rehab, and the provider provides a billing saying that they did indeed provide, services for that client. We go back if that for some reason that bill got paid and we were unaware, because sometimes we get reports like after the fact that the person was in the hospital. The fraud investigator will go and talk to both the provider and client, and we usually 9 times out of 10 get a recoupment of the funds, an overpayment, and make a plan with them to receive those money back. Another thing that happens, and this is probably also very typical, is that the person who is receiving the care, their family composition may change. And as a result of those circumstances and what happens, for example, they may have been receiving funding for meal preparation, and then somebody comes in, let's say a son or a daughter comes back into the home, and then they're all eating together. That's an issue of a family composition where, if they're all eating together, then it's not a special event, shall we say, on the meal preparation. Those are the kinds of issues that occur more for us. And a lot of those issues are covered in the initial visit with both the client and the provider, but sometimes it's like anything else in the world. Those issues, you kind of forget stuff, and we come back to those issues. On the few cases that we've had where we've wanted to refer to the district attorneys, we have done so. We also work with, just to let you know, the fraud investigator for Medi-Cal. But I would say, truthfully, it's beyond minuscule. Fraud in IHSS is estimated at 1% to 2% by those who are normally working in the program. It's smaller than any other type of fraud. And it's certainly in our county, we have not seen those issues. And again, there's a relationship with the
Mary,
social worker.
could you speak up, please?
Yeah, there's a relationship between the social worker and the clients that is established, and there's regular home visits to recheck on clients. When a client initially goes on, there's a visit by the social worker who evaluates the client's need. Then the fraud investigator usually goes in a home visit afterwards to explain all of those issues. The provider also has been to an orientation where a number of the rights and responsibilities are gone over. And then we also have a nurse who goes in on specialized cases who also goes in. So there's a fair amount of interaction.
Thank you. Mr. Segali, you have a question or comment?
Quick question, if you could elaborate.
Could you please speak into the mic?
This is Al Segali, Taxpayer Association. The question is, please elaborate on the inappropriate funds comment.
Thank you. The inappropriate funds. When I talk about inappropriate funds, I'm referring to that someone may have received some funding. For example, if you receive funding for personal care, that is for bathing, dressing, activities of daily living, and that person who you were caring for, let's say, went into the hospital, they're not there to care for, and that's the activities that have been authorized for payment. That person may still go into the house to clean up the house. Problem is, we can't authorize that because it's like Medi-Cal paying both for the home and the client. So that's what I mean by inappropriate.
Thank you.
I had a couple of questions.
Bonnie, could you just identify?
Oh, I'm sorry. Bonnie Newman from Double Springs. I was not able to see your chart of activities, so at some point if somebody could share that information, that would be real helpful to me. Perfect. Thank you, Mary. I did ask the fraud investigator how many cases of fraud in Calaveras County, and she told me there was been one prosecutable case in the past 5 years. That's different from the recovery monies because I think there's an interest, and then people feel that, maybe I did something wrong. And I guess this one prosecutable case was somebody that really was outrageous about it. I made 3 IHSS fraud reports in the past 3 months. Before that, you could not have caught me to say that there was any fraud at all. But because of the work I've been doing, I got 3 cases reported. And I'd like to share with you what they consisted of, because they're not what you think. The fraud is initiated in these 3 cases, and these are the only 3 cases I've ever known about, by the consumer who feels a sense of entitlement to this money. This is my money. These are my services. And they approach the provider with the idea that, well, why don't we say you worked all these hours, and when you get your check, we'll just split the money. When my providers said no, and all three providers said no, they lost their job, and the consumer was allowed to re-interview for more providers. And I think maybe with the intent of finding somebody who is willing to help them commit this fraud. So we're getting a lot of flack as providers. We got to get fingerprinted, we have to do background checks. And my experience has been that the providers are not the ones who are initiating the fraud, it's the consumer. And I don't know how you can stem that kind of a situation, but that's been my experience. And I thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to address on this before we take a vote? Okay, any other further questions or comments from the board? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move the minute order.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes on a 5-0. Thank you. Item 14, Mr. Thomas, Mr. Tuffanelli.
Yes, Madam Chair, this item concerns the proposed Jenny Lind Veterans Memorial District facilities that are currently on the verge of being constructed. There is an error on page 2 that I'd like to point out, that this is the District 1 and the District 5 supervisor, not the District 2 supervisor, unless you want to take over.
No, thank you.
Okay. All right. In a nutshell, both Gary and I feel like that this is one of those projects that, because of its public benefit, certainly qualifies for the exemptions that this board could offer up on the fees, particularly the road mitigation fee of $2,200 and the Valley Springs Basin fee of $10,456. We're making a recommendation that those 2 fees be waived so that the Veterans District would have the benefit of retaining $12,656 so that they could use that money toward their construction rather than paying the fees. And there is sufficient and justifiable language in our ordinances and our methodology to justify this if we, in fact, agree that there is a public, that it is in the public interest to do this. So that's the justification and the rationale for bringing this forward, and Mr. Ballantyne is here to talk about the project a little bit.
I didn't understand. You want to know about the project a little bit?
Yeah. I think everybody knows that we're replacing, or you are replacing, a facility that was built in 1960, making a much...
Right. We have a building that's approximately 50 years old, and at the present time we have a lot of problems with it. The electricity is maxed out. We're not handicap available. it leaks. We had an air conditioning unit almost fall through the roof, and it's just been ongoing maintenance problems. We have a lot of maintenance problems with the building, which costs us quite a bit of money every year. The parking lot is shot. It needs about $30,000 or $35,000 worth of work. And so we decided to build a new building, and we started this, like I've been working on it for more than 10 years, probably closer to 14. And we failed on the ballot issues. We had, I think, 3 of those, and the public didn't seem to want to go along with it. So the board, we saved our money on a yearly basis. We ended up in the black, and so we were able to accumulate funds through the years, and we have enough funds right now to put up the shell of the building. And we're hoping for more donations and more community support, and possibly people that are willing to do work inside of the building for us. And we want to try to get the building completed as quickly as we can, because there's a lot of community events for fundraising and different things that will be a tremendous benefit to our building. Also, the purpose of our district is to erect buildings and provide places for veterans to meet and conduct their business. That's our primary purpose. And as you know, we have 2 wars going on right now, and it's going to be needed for veterans on down the road, because we're going to have a tremendous influx of veterans back into society. I'd also like to remind you that it'll be designated as an emergency building, and in case of a disaster such as the fire we had in Valley Springs a few years ago, at least we'll have a building that'll be able to accommodate a large number of people who may be made homeless or need a place to stay due to some type of disaster. And so I think it'll be really good for that also. And we're requesting the reduction in fees because money is critical with the building. Every dollar counts in trying to get this building completed and make it usable for veterans and for the community. And I would hope that we would get support from the Board of Supervisors this morning to accomplish these goals.
Thank you, Mr. Valentine. Is there anyone else who would like to address this?
Never pass by an opportunity. I am Peter Race, Valley Spring, victim of Community Service 1. Publicly, thank you. And I think this gentleman deserves a hand. And I want to thank both of the supervisors to bring this issue forward. It's a valid issue, and I hope you all support it. Thank you.
Andy, did you have something?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm waiting for the board to act.
Mr. Tuffanelli?
And then,
okay.
And then, irregardless of how it goes, it's going to be good words or bad words. I don't know which.
Thank you.
Andy, I do have a couple questions for you. One, in addition to the community building that's being used by a great number of people in the local community and outside the local realm, including the county at times, The Vets District also down there off that same road has other facilities that is used by public. Is that correct? You want to talk a little bit about the park system you guys have built back there and some Prop 40 funds that you used just recently?
Yeah, just recently we got $15,000 in Prop 40 funds. We were able to replace a cement slab up in our park, which was a public safety hazard due to cracks, and the thing was uneven. Whenever they put that down originally, years and years ago, they just took and poured it out on the ground, and I was amazed that it lasted as long as it has. But under Prop 40 funds, we were able to replace that, and we also were able to put up a stone wall around the side of it, and eventually that's all going to be landscaped, and we have a gazebo there. And it's like a private area, and hopefully we're going to be able to hold weddings and different types of social functions there in the gazebo area. We have a 32-acre park that's available to the Valley Springs community. We have a playground up there. We have a picnic area. We have 2 ball fields. We have a snack bar. It's all landscaped up there. We have a lot of parking. We have a children's playground, and we provide a lot of services. There's trails up there where you can hike. We've put in benches along the trails, which we've got under grants so that people can take a rest whenever they're hiking or walking their dogs or whatever. We're very proud of our park. There's been a tremendous amount of work put into the park. The prisoners from Vallecito have contributed a lot towards our park. They have done just so much work up there. It's unbelievable. Our district is poor, and we're just not able to afford things like that. And just luckily, there's been entities that have stepped forward and helped us out in a lot of areas. So we provide a lot. We don't charge the public, only if they're going to rent the building or rent the area up there. The ball teams, the only thing they pay for is the lights. And so we just, contribute a lot to the community, and we try to keep our rents low, and we try to provide as much as we can for the community and also cater to the veterans. So the new building will benefit everybody. And it'll be a tremendous asset to the community. So I would hope that the Board of Supervisors would give us a little assistance. We're always needing help, it seems, so I'm hoping that you'll do away with the fees and we can apply that money to the completion of the building. Is there any other questions?
Just one thing, Andy, it might be appropriate to describe the boundaries of the Veterans District for folks who may not know that.
The boundaries of the district are the old District 5, and after they divided it up, it now constitutes, it's been divided into District 1 and District 5. Our Memorial District sits in both districts, so we're fortunate we have 2 supervisors. So, but that's where our tax base comes from, and it extends clear down to Paparopolis, out to Burson, and it was all of Valley Springs, La Cantana, Quail Oaks, Rancho. I mean, it's a huge area. And the reason we're able to draw taxes from that district is because that was established, when the district was established, that is the boundaries that were set for the Memorial District. And those are like kind of set in stone. And we're governed by the Military and Veterans Code, which is a bunch of state laws that were written by the legislators, and we have a book to that effect. It gets controversial because we're also a government agency, and we also fall under the laws of the state and the laws of the county, plus the Military and Veterans Code. And sometimes it gets very, very, very complicated to determine what we can do and what we can't do. But we've been very fortunate, and I've been lucky. I've had a tremendous board, and that's how we've been able to save enough money for this building. We've operated in the black every year, and we've been able to put money into the reserve fund, and now we're going to be able to utilize that money to put the building up.
Thank you. Yes, please, Rosemary, could you come up, please? Thank you.
Somebody wants to talk? Let them talk.
I wasn't sure whether public comment was over or continuing.
For public, I mean just on a non-agenda, or this item?
On this particular item.
Yes, please, go ahead.
I was just wondering, in the light of economic conditions, etc., it seems a little vague to say fee reduction. Do you have in mind what the reduction in fee dollar amount would be? Because looking at this, we just wouldn't know that.
It's for $2,200 for the road impact mitigation fee, and it's $10,426 for the Valley Springs benefit basin fee.
Thank you. I have no comment whether you should or shouldn't, but I think it's important to actually say what the dollar amount you're considering is.
Good point. Well taken. Thank you.
I'm for it, by the way. But by the way, you're not adding something new. They're just replacing something, so the impact isn't like they're adding something that wasn't there. It's already there, so that should help her.
That's a good point, too.
Anyone else? Mr. Tuffanelli, Mr. Thomas?
If there are no further comments, then I would like to move this item for approval.
I will second. I would like to make one comment before we vote.
On this item, we're seeking board direction to bring it back with a minute order adopting your direction.
Okay.
It's actually not a minute order resolution.
I see.
No,
that's right.
Okay, yes.
We need board direction to go ahead and proceed with the waiver of those fees.
Well, before we offer board direction, I did want to make a comment. We have in this county, we're not particularly well endowed, and many of our citizens have stepped up, as Mr. Valentine has and many other veterans groups in the county. Parks and rec organizations, people organized around libraries, people who are involved in cemetery districts, and historical society. And I hope I mentioned fire as well. We keep on doing these things one at a time. There was one for the West Point Cemetery District not long ago. My suggestion for efficiency's sake is that we finally, because we all feel this way, I think, take a look at those organizations that are providing public benefit that the county is unable to provide, and that we find a way to waive those fees for those construction projects that are of public benefit. How we define that, I think, would be a task, but it's not that hard. This one's pretty obvious, and so have the other ones that have come before us. My hope is that we can make this a function of policy rather than individual exemptions from a bad policy.
Mr. Jones, did you have something you wanted to say?
I think we both just made the same point.
Okay,
that
got it.
we're asking for direction, not a...
Okay.
All right, I'll revise the motion as follows. I'd like to move that we direct staff to agendize for board action a waiver of the RIM fee and the Valley Springs Benefit Basin fee associated with the construction of the community building by the Jenny Lind Veterans Memorial District, based upon findings that the public benefit and interest provided by the new community building exceeds the value of the fees that would otherwise be collected.
And do you want to add, put it on the consent agenda?
Do you dare?
Okay. That's fine. We have a motion, Mr. Tuffanelli.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes on a 5-0. Thank you. We're going to take a 5-minute...
Rita, could I say a few more words?
Oh, you better keep it short.
I want to take this opportunity. I want to thank the board, and I want to thank Supervisors Gary Tofanelli and Russ Thomas, who have been working with us on this building for a long time, and they have been outstanding in their support of this building, and I'm sure that they're going to continue their support, because I don't know of any other two gentlemen that want to see this building built more than they do. So thank you all very, very much. I appreciate your support, and we'll continue to do our duty in the community and support the community and veterans to the best of our ability, financial and otherwise.
We're going to take a 5-minute recess.
I'm ready to take a vote on item 15. If I could have a motion, please.
I'm just ready to take a vote on item 15, and could I have a motion, please? Oh, did we want to do public comment or questions? Okay.
So we're done, right?
Yes. We're going to move to item 15. It's approving the filing of a grant between multiple agencies for sustainable communities planning. Mr. Pastizio.
Hi, Dave Pastizio, Calaveras Planning Department. Back at the meeting on August 3rd, the board directed staff to work with our partner agencies to develop an application for the Strategic Growth Council Sustainable Communities Planning Grant, and we've completed that application. To date, the boards of Tuolumne County Transportation Council, Amador Water Agency, and the Calaveras County Water District have approved the application, and the Tuolumne Utility District will be deciding tonight at their meeting. We've got letters of support from the Sierra Nevada Conservancy, the Tuolumne County Public Health Officer, Calaveras County Public Health Director, and we're anticipating some others coming in shortly. The grant provides us an opportunity to use state funds to address the state mandate to develop a plan for dealing with greenhouse gas emissions and to update our zoning code to bring it into conformance with our new general plan. We need to do both of these things. If we don't use the state monies, we'll need to use general fund monies to meet these requirements. And I also have here, since there was some discussion the last time about the Prop 84 and how it relates to this, and I've had other people asking the same question, I have just a small front and back sheet where I just sort of summarize the pertinent parts of Prop 84 that are pertinent to this grant application. And what the planning staff is recommending, that the Board of Supervisors pass a motion authorizing the chair to sign a resolution authorizing the filing of an application for the Strategic Growth Council Sustainable Communities Planning Grant and Incentives Program in the amount of $1,623,969 for the preparation of the Central Sierra Regional Action Plan for Prosperity, or RAP for short.
and to acknowledge that the Tuolumne County Community Development Director or her designee will serve as the agent to conduct all negotiations, execute and submit all documents, including but not limited to applications, agreements, payment requests, and so on, which may be necessary for the completion of the RAP. And authorize the Calaveras County Administrator and the County Council to approve changes before submittal of the grant application on or before August 31st, 2010. So if you have any questions.
Does the board have any questions or comments at this time? Okay, thank you, Dave.
Mr. Pastizo, I just have one question. In the staff report, it says that, I guess subsequent to our last meeting, that Amador had decided to go on their own.
Right.
But they're pursuing this on their own, but going in the same direction.
They're pursuing pretty similar thing that we are, only it's the county and their 5 cities, and I think their transportation agency, they've decided to form their little Amador group. And so they'll be essentially competing against us for this funding.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, I want to open it to the public. Please identify yourself, and you have 5 minutes.
I'm Jean Turpin. I'm the chairman of the Calaveras County Republican Party. Since last week the board was unclear on the status of the Strategic Growth Grant, I would like to resubmit my comments. And Madam Chair, I'd like to also thank you for calling to let me know it would be on the agenda. I appreciate that. The Calaveras Republican Party is adamantly opposed to the Strategic Growth Council Planning Grant. The grant would put the county under the auspices of State Assembly Bill 32, a cap and trade bill, regardless of whether it is suspended in the November election. When my budget is strained and grants of money are offered from relatives, I have to consider what the unspoken stipulations involved would be if I accept. For example, every time my in-laws go on vacation, will that mean I'm on the hook to take care of the ranch? Likewise, while the funds from the Strategic Growth Grant may be welcome, this board must consider the stipulations, namely the implementation of State Assembly Bill 32, which according to the California Small Business Roundtable will cost $134,122 and 1 job lost per small business. There's a measure to suspend State Assembly Bill 32 on the November ballot. So to encourage the board to not approve the filing of the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean, while you're there, I mean, this is off topic, but could you just give us a 2-minute wrap-up of what happened to Pacific State Bank, since it's an integral part of the county? Thank you.
At this time, unfortunately, any public comments?
I don't mean that. I mean who you are now.
We have been, we were closed on Friday by the FDIC and purchased by Rabobank. So I think it'll be a good thing for our community.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Pat Gutman from McCallamy Hill, and I urge you to approve the resolution for the application for a Strategic Growth Council Sustainable Communities Planning Grant and Incentives Program. The grant would provide for funding of $1.6 million or more for much-needed planning in Calaveras County, as well as a partnership with Tuolumne County. I cannot see a reason we should not support this wonderful grant. It would provide funding for a wide range of planning issues: air quality, regulation, compliance, public health, utilize future economic opportunities, increase planning efficiency, decrease infrastructure costs, propose methods to recognize air and water quality values of open lands and vegetative cover. Applying for this grant seems to me to be a win-win for Calaveras and Tuolumne counties. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goodman.
Good morning, Madam Chairperson and Board of Supervisors. I'm Tanya Dowson from Burson, and I would like to submit these additional petitions from the Angel Camp and surrounding areas that request that the Board of Supervisors vote not to apply for this grant. Calaveras is getting a bad rap. A Sustainable Communities and Climate Change Reduction section was added to the Safe Drinking Water Bond Act of 2006. That was bait and switch. The Central Sierra Regional Action Plan for Prosperity, also known as RAP, limits future choices, takes money from future generations, redistributes wealth under the guise of protecting health and the environment, violates property rights, implements AB 32. One goal of sustainable development is to nudge people into high-density communities. In essence, sustainable development is the gradual urbanization of society. Restrictions imposed by sustainable communities planning will limit lifestyle choices of future generations. If there is a need for infill development, the free market will build it. Our vision is of future generations living in a free and prosperous society with the free market deciding what land use would emerge. This grant aims to update the Calaveras County Zoning Code to implement policies of the new Calaveras County General Plan, as well as strategies found within the RAP. This, too, will limit the choices of future generations. The people who live in Rancho Calaveras saw the dangers of sustainable development, which have been repackaged as smart growth in the Valley Springs area, and they decisively voted it out of their neighborhood with an overwhelming and very vocal majority. While the RAP appears to be a boon to infrastructure service providers, it also requires the creation of a new bureaucracy to implement the program. The money for this grant will come from future generations who are powerless to vote against these expenditures at this time. The money is simply not ours to spend. This is taxation without representation. Promoting public health is one of the objectives of the Strategic Growth Council. The grant guideline states, quote, "A healthy community is one that meets the basic needs of all residents," unquote. The examples listed for basic needs are safe, affordable transportation, healthy foods, affordable, high-quality, and location-efficient housing, health care, living wage, social equity, socially cohesive and supportive relationships, and other daily needs. How does the government assure this when none of this is the government's business? RAP is social engineering on steroids. There are those who contend that programs that have any hint of being for the public good should be accepted hook, line, and sinker, even at the expense of individual liberty. This grant looks to implement a big government nanny state that limits our choices, liberty, and even our creativity. RAP is a blatant redistribution of wealth scheme via health care, public transportation, affordable housing, equity, walking trails, bike paths, open space, and other amenities. These are utopian objectives, and those who value these aims can dedicate their life's work to these ends. However, to force some to work for the ideology of others is wrong. The best way to provide amenities such as these is through volunteerism and charities, not the force of law. RAP promises to strengthen the economy by incorporating economic development component so that we rely less on boom and bust economies of the past. But the reality is, getting rid of the boom and bust economies would require getting rid of the free market. The government might create jobs, but they don't produce anything and cost private jobs. In addition, privately held government-run businesses or public-private partnerships lead to cronyism and/or extortion and are not as efficient as private enterprise. History has shown us that centralized planning of the economy has never worked. The economy runs best when job creation is left to the free market. What the RAP doesn't say is what more it will do. As a taxpayer, I would like to know exactly what this plan is going to do. A carbon sequestration, recognition, and compensation program is the worst part of cap and trade. To compensate some means taxing others. Cap and trade creates a bloated bureaucracy that benefits the traders. This idea has failed repeatedly elsewhere and should never see the light of day in America. In the end, the compensation program would not reduce pollution at all.
Tanya, I gave people 5 minutes and you're way over. So
Oh, I'm
good
sorry.
job.
I would like to request a few more minutes. Since last week I had intended to speak, but I did not because I had been given misinformation.
Okay. How much more time do you want? I just want to be fair to everyone.
Maybe 2.5 minutes.
Got it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And should never, okay, if the grant is accepted, portions of AB 32, the state greenhouse gas emissions regulations, will be implemented by Calaveras County, even if voters suspend AB 32 at the state level in November. According to a study done by the California Small Business Roundtable, AB 32 will cost, as mentioned before, $134,122.48, and one job lost per small business. RAP seeks to reduce vehicle miles traveled, which is also known as VMT. Implementing goals to reduce VMT may make living in the country too expensive. This will likely target people who do not live in city centers, further reducing individual choices. According to the board packet, this program will also implement portions of SB 375, even though Calaveras is exempt from this at this time. In the end, there is in fact no guarantee that anything we do will affect the climate at all. Man-made climate change and AB 32 are based on questionable science. Even the White House is backing away from cap and trade. Versionista, a Portland, Oregon-based company that tracks changes to the White House website, reported last week that the Obama administration had made whole cloth changes to its energy and environment issues page. Removed are any references to a cap on carbon emissions and a campaign pledge to spend over $150 billion on clean energy technologies. Also, the president's prime-time address from the Oval Office on June 15th drew criticism from activists when he didn't mention the words carbon, greenhouse gases, global warming, or cap and trade. The effect of implementing these so-called public health and environmental policies is so insignificant that this plan appears to be more of a government power grab than anything else. Again, this grant limits future choices, takes money from the future generations, redistributes wealth under the guise of protecting health and the environment, violates property rights, and implements AB 32. Please vote no on submitting the Strategic Growth Council Sustainable Communities Planning Grant application. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Good morning. I'm Marian Coran from San Andreas, and I'm here to ask all of you to vote on accepting the grant application for Sustainable Community Planning Grant. Spend state money, not our own general fund.